Hello, so I'm going to finish this class exercise, and it's a very long exercise, so it will take some time, so please be patient. And please take your time to read this question, and it has a lot of information. And basically the company manufactures one product, and there are two kinds of raw materials, and also there are some manufacturing instructions, some beginning inventory, ending inventory information, and also there are some manufacturing overhead information, and so on. And we have some variable manufacturing overhead costs and fixed manufacturing overhead costs in front of us. And finally we are going to complete question 1 to 6. So let's get started. I'm going to work on 1 to 6. It will take some time, so please be patient. One more time. So first I'm going to take a look at question 1. The question 1 says prepare a direct materials usage budget in both units and dollars. Okay, so therefore, in order to find the solutions to the question, we have to know what is my production. Okay, what is my production? So in other words, how many units I need to manufacture. So when I see direct materials usage budget, I'm looking at direct materials that I need to use in my production, not the direct materials I need to purchase. So these two are different things. They are relevant. They have some relationship. However, the direct materials used may not necessarily be the same as direct materials purchased. So that's a big difference here. So let's get back to the calculation part. So for the production, I need to know that, okay, finished goods beginning inventory, then plus units manufactured equals units sold, then plus finished goods ending inventory. Okay, so this is a very popular formula we have been using for a while. So what's happening here is you need to go back to the question, check, okay, what do I know, what I don't know. So if I read the question carefully, the question says there are no racks in beginning inventory, and target ending inventory racks is also 0. So that tells me the beginning and ending finished goods inventory balances are both 0. So I'm going to put a 0 here, then plus units manufactured, which I'm looking for, should be the same as units sold. What is number of units sold? If you go back to the question, it says the racks are very popular and the demand is high, and because of capacity constraints, the firm will produce only 200,000 blue racks per year, and they will be all sold. Okay, so they manufacture 200,000 racks, and they're gonna sell all of them. So therefore, if you look at a question, it seems to me it's pretty simple that they are going to sell all of them, and that's the number they are going to manufacture. So therefore, the units manufactured is going to be 20,000 for sure. Okay, sorry, 200,000 for sure. Okay, so that's very important because that's my production. Then the question becomes, in order to manufacture 200,000 units, what materials I will need? Okay, what materials I will need? So what is direct materials usage in units and dollar? Okay, dollars. Okay, so first of all, we can take a look at we call the physical units budget. Okay, physical units budget. So I'm just look at how many units of raw materials I need to get. So the question says we have two kinds of materials. One is called a wool, one is called a dye. So there are two of them, and we have 200,000 racks we need to manufacture. Okay, and for the if you look at the manufacturing instructions, so in order to make one rack, we have to use 36 skeins of wool and 0.8 gallons of dye. So therefore, we're looking at $2 each, and sorry, not $2. I'm talking about 36 skeins each. And for dye, I'm looking at 0.8 gallons. Okay, each. So from there, we can find the physical units budget, which is we multiply 36 by 200,000, and we multiply 0.8 by 200,000. Okay, so you get 7,200,000 skeins of wool and 166,000 gallons of dye. All right, so you finished the first part. The second part is about the dollars. Okay, in dollars. Okay, the dollar amount. Okay. So because we're gonna use the FIFO here, the question says the company uses the FIFO inventory cost flow method. So we have to follow the FIFO exactly. So what is FIFO? FIFO says first in, first out. So whatever, I will put the raw materials, just use RM for raw materials. So raw materials, beginning inventory tells me that for the wool, and I have wool and also dye. For the wool, I have the dollar amount is 961,800. Oh, sorry, I think I typed the wrong number. Should be 961,800. And for dye, I'm looking at 23,680. And now I'm going to take a look at to be used in this period. Okay, well, I have to definitely purchase new raw materials to manufacture. And the question is, first of all, I have to know how many units I need to buy. Second is then what is unit price. So finally, I can find the dollar amount. So therefore, first I need to look at purchase new units, purchase new raw materials in units first. Okay, so how many I need to buy? Okay, that's very important. So I need 7,200,000 skeins of wool. So therefore, I only need to buy the difference between 7,200,000 and the one from the beginning inventory. So the question says in the beginning we have 458,000 skeins, right? So the difference tells me I just need to buy 6,742,000. Then for the dye in units, I'm looking at the gallons. So I will use 160,000 gallons of dye. Then I have 4,000 gallons already in the beginning. So finally, I just need 156,000. So now, in terms of the dollar value, so new purchased raw materials in dollar value, I need to multiply the number of units by the the price. So I need to spend the dollar amount, which is I think $2 per skein, right? So I'm going to multiply $2 by the 6,742,000 skeins. So that's going to be the dollar amount. And for the dye, I'm going to pay $60 gallon. So I multiply 6 by 156,000. So I get $936,000. So the total cost, okay, the total raw materials usage in dollar amount is going to be, you add the purchase new raw materials in dollar to your beginning inventory dollar amount. Okay, so same for the dye and the wool. Okay, so we are going to wool, so we put all these numbers together. So the final answer will be, well, we are going to the raw materials usage in dollar amount is going to be 14,445,800 for wool and 959,680 for dye. You can also actually add these two numbers to talk about the total amount. I apologize for that. And then you're gonna have 15,405,480. That's a total amount of dollar amount. So that's that concludes part 1. So let's take a look at the second question. The second question is asking calculate the budgeted overhead allocation rates for weaving and dyeing. So you have two activities. One is called dyeing, one is called weaving, and you have different cost drivers. For dyeing, it says we are going to use manufacturing labor hours. Oh, sorry. For dyeing, we'll use machine hours. For weaving, I'll use manufacturing labor hours. So weaving is more labor intensive, dyeing is more machine intensive. That's why you use different cost drivers. And we are going to work on the second part. Okay, second part should not be that bad. So if I come to the second part, so what I'm going to do is pretty simple here. So if I look at let me see which one's first. So dyeing. So I'm going to look at the dyeing budgeted overhead rate. So you probably know how to do that because the formula is pretty simple. You look at the total dyeing manufacturing overhead, then divided by the total. Because this is dyeing is a very machine intensive. So you're looking at the machine hours. Okay, machine hours. So let me copy paste down here so you can see the whole formula here. So therefore, in this case, I'm going to look at the dollar amount in my question. So let me adjust my window size. So the dyeing, we are looking at the following numbers. Okay, we are looking at the following numbers. Okay. So it's pretty easy to see that we're looking at 17,280,000. Then divide this by the total labor. We're looking at divided by the total machine hours. Okay, machine hours. So next question is how to find the machine hours. Machine hours is 1,440,000 machine hours. So we divide the dollar value by this number. Okay, pretty easy to find all these numbers. So we divide 17,280,000 in this table by the 1,440,000 also from that table. So we can find $12. So that's going to be dollar over machine hour. Okay, machine hour. Next one is actually the weaving. Okay, weaving budgeted overhead rate. So that will be total weaving manufacturing overhead cost divided by the total direct manufacturing labor hours, because that's labor intensive. So you're gonna use actually the column right here to finish calculations. So we are going to divide 31,620,000 by 12,400,000. So the answer is $2.55. So we're looking at $1 per direct manufacturing labor hours. Okay, labor hours. So we have complete the part 2. So we find the overhead rates. Okay, of these two activities. Now we can go to the question 3. The question 3 says calculate the budgeted unit cost of a blue rack for the year. So, and this is a very cool question, to be honest, because then you can see all these details. So I'm going to show you that what do I mean by budgeted unit cost of blue rack. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I need to look at several elements. In order to make a blue rack, I need raw materials. So I have a wool, okay, and the second, sorry, let me put that down here. I need a wool. Second, I need a dye. These are two kinds of raw materials. Next, I will have direct manufacturing labor cost. Okay, labor cost. The next one is I will look at the dyeing manufacturing overhead cost, and also I have weaving manufacturing overhead cost. So you have actually all the elements ready. You have raw materials. The first two things are raw materials, wool and dye, and the manufacturing labor, second part, and the manufacturing overhead. There are two of them. Okay, two activities. So what I need to do is for this particular product, first of all, I need to know the cost per unit. Okay, cost per unit of input. Which can be found very easily. The next is actually how many inputs I need per output, per product. If you feel more comfortable using that language, that's fine. You can use input per output. So typically output means the product, input means basically the materials, resources. Then you have total per output. Okay. So that's what we have right here. That's what we have right here. So let's first take a look at the cost per unit of input. So if I look at the wool, the cost of input is pretty clear. You can get from the question. Okay. So we know that we have $2 per skein, and we have $6 per gallon, right? And for direct manufacturing labor, we're looking at $13 per hour. So we have $13 per hour. Okay, you can get all these numbers, right? $13 per number. The dyeing manufacturing overhead, you are going to use the result from 3. So for dyeing, we're looking at $12 for. Sorry, I think it's not. It's a weaving, not weaving. So it's $2.55. So we have $12 here, and we have $2.55. So make sure that you're able to find the cost per unit of input. So we're looking at $2 per skein for wool, and $6 per gallon for dye, and $13 that's per hour. That's labor cost. And for dyeing manufacturing overhead, we look at $12 per machine hour. For weaving manufacturing overhead, we have $2.55 for direct labor hour. Okay, so that's what we have. Then the input of output is, in order to make one rack, so how many units of wool? The question says, well, we need to use 36 skein. So how to find it? You can read the question, and it says one rack is budgeted to use 36 skeins right here, right? So that's how you get 36. Then the next is for dye, we need to use a 0.8 gallon. So we're looking at a 0.8 gallon. Then for direct manufacturing labor, we're looking at 62 hours. 62 hours. So where to find it? Where to find it? Actually, it's pretty easy to get a number. There is no direct manufacturing labor cost for dyeing. The company budgets 62 direct manufacturing labor hours to weave a rack at a budgeted rate of $13 per hour. So that's how you get 36 direct labor hours. Okay. And for dyeing manufacturing overhead, it's pretty simple here, because for dyeing is very machine intensive, and it budgets 0.2 machine hours. So I will put a 0.2 there. Then the next one is how about the weaving? So weaving uses cost allocation base, which is which is direct labor hours. So therefore, if making a rack needs 62 direct labor hours, then when we come to the calculations of weaving manufacturing overhead, the allocation base units is also 62 labor hours, because you are using the labor hours as a cost driver for weaving manufacturing overhead. So you have 62 there as well. So the next step is you are going to multiply the unit cost of input by the inputs required for per output, the product. So you multiply all these numbers. Okay, so I'm going to pull and drag. So you find all these numbers, okay, in units. So finally, you can calculate the total unit cost per output per rack, for instance. So you can add all these numbers. Okay. apologize. I think there is some issues here. I need to put the parentheses. So it's going to be you add all the 5 numbers. Okay, so finally you can see that you have oh, hold on a second, I think that there is a small error here. I need to probably change my table a little bit, okay, format cells, because I think I need to use the decimal places. I will put 2 decimal places, okay. Alright, so just want to double check, make sure I don't have mistakes. Alright, so hold on a second, I think there is one error I need.